Good morning. It's Friday, and oh, no, you don't need those. No, you should be able to talk into your mic. I have Kurt Mizee here. Hi.
Morning.
You can talk in. I mean, if you want to listen.
No.
Okay. You can hear yourself on the radio. I was just telling Maria, is it Friday? I'm not sure. I saw a thing last night that said the days this week went Monday, Tuesday, Sunday, Monday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's kind of what it felt like. Although, did you get to enjoy any fireworks or anything?
Well, so we actually made third cutting grass silage all day so we called it Freedom Feed. But
there you go.
We were pretty well done by the time we got everything covered on Wednesday night. So
all right, cool. You are here, Mr. Mizee, on behalf of the Farm Bureau, and also giving us kind of an update on what's going on with the PUD transmission line.
Yeah,
because you are directly affected with that. Yeah.
So. First, thank you, Farm Bureau, for the time to come in here. Farm Bureau is a fantastic organization. If you're involved in agriculture at all, would really encourage you to get involved with Farm Bureau. They do a great job of standing up for farmers and for the agriculture industry in general. And in this specific scenario, they have backed the farmers that are in the route of the proposed transmission line that our local PUD has put forth. So that's why I'm here today.
Okay, so let's do, because it's a long history, and you can expand on it a little bit. You don't need to give me a Reader's Digest version. Let's talk about the history of this transmission line. This has been going on 7 years?
Yeah, actually longer than that. So
okay.
So essentially,
what the purpose was, all that kind of stuff.
Right. So what's being proposed right now is a substation in the hills above Oceanside. There's a transmission line that runs from the Wilson River substation, which is sort of when you come into town under the bridge there that they've just redone on Highway 6. That substation is up on your right, up on the hill there.
The bridge? So, you mean the 101 bridge?
The rails to trails.
Oh,
bridge,
the railroad over.
Yeah,
oh, yeah. Where Evergreen is, there's
correct,
like a little road there. Yeah.
Yep.
Right after the digester.
Yes.
Everybody knows where the digester is.
Right.
Because it smells.
So from that substation out to Oceanside, they're proposing 115 kilovolt transmission line. Then that power, about peak load of 9 megawatts would be dropped off in Oceanside and Netarts. The remaining 22 megawatts produced by that substation would return on the existing line along Highway 131 back to town and feed town. So
I'll bet you know more about transmission lines and power and how it works than you ever thought you would know, don't you?
Yeah. So the really fun part is that I don't actually get paid to do this.
No.
And it's getting expensive quickly.
I'm sure.
With attorneys and whatnot. So it's quite an education, and definitely more than I ever wanted to know.
Right.
So if we go back, what we've been asking ourselves is why do we need a substation in Oceanside if we're dropping off 9 to 11 megawatts,
right,
and bringing 22.
2/3 of it is going back into town.
So if we look back far enough, in 2007, the process began to look at offshore energy outside of Oceanside. In 2008, PUD indicated that they had an interest in green power and signed a memorandum of understanding agreement with Principal Power. And Principal Power is one of these companies that puts in these wind turbines out in the ocean. And what that would mean for PUD is that they would be able to what they call wheel that power. So essentially handle the power and distribute it back into the grid at a cost. So it's a revenue stream for the PUD. So the feasibility studies that came from that showed that really the missing link was a substation close to shore and a 115 kilovolt line back to the grid. So, which those numbers might sound familiar from what I just said.
Right.
So in 2013, so that was back in 2008. In 2013, PUD had been working on getting a route secured and submitted that route and had approval from the County Planning Commission to go ahead with that. And this was the route that came straight through town and straight down past the radio station here and over the hill. That met with some opposition and was eventually between the city and some of the local property owners was abandoned after they lost at Aluba Appeal, Land Use Board of Appeals.
And you know all these acronyms now too.
Yeah, lots of acronyms here. So then, even after that, in 2013, PUD was still working with Principal Power, and talking with different community groups and fishermen about where to place these turbines out in the ocean. And even to this day, Principal Power considers the project dormant, not abandoned.
Okay.
So,
but why? So why? Do you know why nothing has been done with it? Why it's dormant?
Yeah, because it met. So the fisheries groups said, "Hey, you're putting this stuff right where we fish. You know, we've already got problems with electromagnetic fields.
Right.
You know, and even around the boat. It's you know, think of what these things are going to do.
Sure.
So it scared them. So they said, okay, move it in closer to the shore, where we're not fishing. Well, that's right in front of Oceanside, Netarts, you know, and these are, you know, Principal Power's website says these are 100-meter tall turbines. I mean,
so there goes your view.
Substantial, yeah. So where we are now is that you're looking at a problem for Oceanside because they need reliable power. Nobody's saying that they don't need good, reliable power out there.
Yeah.
If I was in Oceanside and needed reliable power, versus having my view obstructed by, you know, all these wind turbines,
Have they considered just putting the wind turbines up on the hill? Can they not do that because it's forest land or something?
Well, I think that I mean, I don't have good information.
I know. Just asking.
I would say that if there's a substation out there, that might, you know, be a possibility as well. I mean, that substation lends itself to different avenues
sure.
Of wind power. And anything beyond that would be speculation. But so if we get back to the timeline, so we've got this project that's been denied by the city, but in the process of that happening, PUD went ahead and built out Wilson River substation so that it could accept this project at a cost of $800,000 to the ratepayers. Without having approval for the project to actually go forward.
Gotcha.
So, at this point, PUD feels like they're invested in this transmission line project, and so they form this citizen advisory group to select a route to put a transmission line in out to Oceanside. And this is where we come on board because once this
are you a part of that group?
No, actually my grandfather was, along with my neighbor and several others, but they, based on the information presented, the CAG decided that the best scenario was 3 different routes, all of which came through the middle of our farm. So then that, you know, sort of got me interested.
Good word. Interested. I'm sure it was a little bit more intense than that, but yes.
So if we fast forward just a little bit, that's been about 3 years ago, and we've been fighting it along the way ever since. About a year ago, we discovered that there was another option that allowed for the redundancy and power to Oceanside, and did all the things that PUD wanted to do, other than putting a substation and transmission line in place. So, and we presented that to the board at PUD and asked that it got a little more community involvement and the chance to look at it. And we were basically told no, that it could be done through the land use process as they proceeded with their application for the transmission line.
So what was the alternative? Well, actually, can you expand a little bit on the alternative after I take a break?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to talk about Rosenberg's. Where do you go to find almost anything you need for home improvement? I'll tell you where. Rosenberg's. Rosenberg's has been your local connection for anything you need to build and finish your house to perfection. Carpet, cabinets, paint, electrical, plumbing, nuts and bolts, fencing, windows, doors, and so much more. All those items in one place, but that's only part of the story. What really makes Rosenberg's your stop for home improvement is their people. Their knowledgeable, friendly staff is there to help you through any project. Any question from what paint you should use to how to install a new shower valve, you can get the help you need to do it right the first time. Stop by Rosenberg's today to rediscover what you've known all along. It's better to shop local and work with great people you can see every day. Build it, plumb it, wire it, paint it. Rosenberg Builder Supply, Tillamook. And I forgot to mention that I actually have tickets that I'm giving away to the Air Museum at the end of the show, so continue listening for that, and then we will give those away. I am talking with Kurt Mizee from the Farm Bureau, but also you're kind of the champion, the face of farmers for the PUD transmission line.
Point man? I don't know.
Spokesperson?
There's not a good title for that, really. So
we're talking about the PUD transmission line, which you're right. I looked. I have up their timeline on off their website, and yeah, 2007 is when it started. So we're going on 11 years now.
Yeah, and you know, I've been on this just a few years, I guess, in terms of that long timeline. But there's members of our group that have been on it the whole time.
Sure,
you know?
sure.
So it's been a long process.
So the long of the short of it, or the short of the long of it, whatever, is that there's Neatart / Oceanside. Obviously, we know needs consistent power, right? And so the PUD is proposing a transmission line that cuts through a bunch of farmland, including your own, all of your farmland, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Among other property owners.
Right.
And you were getting ready to tell us about an alternative that you had proposed that was not accepted.
Yeah. So this was actually a route that was shown to us by a PUD employee. And so it was under consideration at one time. However, it's a distribution line, which is what we see, around town.
Sure.
Not a high voltage transmission line.
Sure. Well, when you only need 9 volts or whatever it is,
9 megawatts.
9 megawatts, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm clearly not an electrician.
So just to lay out this route, what would happen is that the power for this secondary distribution line, because redundancy is one of the things that PUD would like to see out in Neatart and Oceanside, it would travel from the substation that's at the port.
Okay.
It would travel along Long Prairie Road, down Ginger Road, down Matachek Road, across the Tillamook River, and then go through the woods to Eckloff Road, and then down and over to the top where Whiskey Creek Junction takes off. And then there would actually be a buried line through the logging roads that run from the top of Whiskey Creek Junction and 131 to Oceanside. So this entire route to the Tillamook River travels along existing easements where there is already distribution lines.
I was following you and thinking, well, there's already poles there, and
right.
I mean, it would just be an extra line, right?
Some of that infrastructure needs to be upgraded anyway. The very last farm at the end of the road belongs to the Rocha family, and they've already said, "Hey, you can go through here." And it stays along the edge of the farmland, which is what the statewide planning goals ask for.
Right. Meanwhile, the other one cuts through right directly in the middle of your farm. Right,
and through not just mine, but other operations as well, and which is contrary to the statewide planning goals. So we've satisfied that part of it with staying within the easements and staying on the edges of farmland, which is good for the local economy. The other thing is the PUD can actually take care of it with equipment they have, because these are the type of lines they take care of all the time.
Right. So that was presented and then said, no, sorry.
Yeah, and part of the reason that it became viable is PUD had based some of their need in terms of their application on some erroneous numbers, some math that was done incorrectly. And it was actually David Mass, that's part of our group, was able to find that calculation and correctly do it using PUD's data. And we arrived at the fact that we only need a distribution line and not a transmission line.
Gotcha.
So this option 3 meets those needs as far as farmland impacts and that sort of thing. It actually stays on more corridors through the forest zone, so we're saving over 20 acres of trees that will never go back into production once they have a line versus 40 acres of trees.
Right.
And with less interruption to the forest zone, and about half the cost, including paying back that $800,000 that's already been spent. It's still half the price. And I think that this transmission line project has been grossly understated in terms of what it's going to cost, because they haven't even begun to secure land. And actually, as of a few weeks ago, the PUD assumed that they had existing easements working through all the Stimson forest land, and Stimson pulled out all of their easements that were granted to PUD.
Oops.
And so that's a whole nother, that's several miles of easements that they're going to have to resecure, and probably do it through legal means, not just
like
buying.
eminent domain, you mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And all that process is very expensive. So there's 52 tax lots involved in the transmission line project, and they had approval of 4, and now the Stimson ones are gone as well. So a lot of opposition. So we're doing this for half the cost without the impact. All we're asking for at this point is that PUD would take a pause and vet this route through the public process. Right.
So is that what your appeal is going to be?
So our appeal is based on some, So today the Planning Commission heard the request from PUD and approved it. So we are appealing to the County Board of Commissioners.
The one where it cuts through all the 52
line.
tax lots or whatever.
Yes, that's what we're appealing to the County Commissioners. Based on some things that were done at the planning department that were incorrect, and some inconsistencies with what the law reads versus how they're actually applying it to get this route done. And the big part is the need, because we truly believe that there isn't a need for the transmission line, that only a distribution line would do it. Stimson has offered to open up the corridor along 131, because most of the outages that they see that affect Netarts and Oceanside are from trees and from
falling.
cars. So if you move those poles farther off the road and take the trees back farther from the power lines, now you've eliminated that issue.
Right.
So there are options, right? PUD's contention is that they could never get enough power out to Netarts and Oceanside through a distribution line through feeder 51, which is what that line is called that runs out there.
So they're insistent on a substation out there.
Yes.
Which then needs a larger transmission line versus a
to feed it.
Gotcha.
Yep. And so if you were to just upgrade the distribution line, you don't need a substation out there. You don't need the transmission lines. And it's been said we can't put enough power out there through the distribution line, but the key to remember is that they're only dropping off a third of that power.
Right.
Max. That's peak load. It's Christmas. Everybody's in town filling every vacation home.
All the Christmas lights are on.
And it's snowing. Like, that's worst case scenario, right? So we can already do double that. I mean, they're planning on pushing 22 back this way. Through distribution line.
Towards town.
So we can do double that already, which gives us decades of growth out there at max capacity.
Yeah.
And our contention is you don't need a substation. You need to get power to those people in Netarts and Oceanside. Right. I live out there. I understand that.
Right.
So let's do that in a responsible manner, because think about how much less energy your fridge uses now.
Right. I was thinking that. LED lights are so much more energy efficient than halogen, and everything is becoming more energy efficient.
So if we can get 20 years of growth for half the cost without interrupting ag and forest operations,
right? Why
wouldn't we take that as a first step? It has to be done anyway. If they decide 20 years down the road to put in a transmission line, they still have to have this line upgraded so that they can push power back through it.
Gotcha.
So why wouldn't we just do that?
Right. I'm going to take a quick break and talk about the regional medical center, but can we briefly talk about the impacts to your farm and what that would mean if the transmission line does cut through there? And obviously not just yours, but multiple property owners. Right. Do you want that vibrant, healthy look? Medical and aesthetic skin care treatments for acne, anti-aging, and rejuvenation are available at Images Medical Spa, offering top-of-the-line medical-grade skincare products, including Botox for chronic migraines, chemical peels, and more. At Images Medical Spa of Adventist Health, you can afford to treat yourself because Botox is only $9 a unit. Have any questions or want to book an appointment? Call 503-815-2410. That's 503-815-2410, and let your inner beauty shine through with beautiful, healthy skin. So I'm talking with Kurt Mizee from the Farm Bureau, and we're talking about the PUD transmission line. So you did a really good job of explaining last time you were in kind of what that impact of a transmission line through your farm means. And it's not just like, it was things that I hadn't even thought about, because you don't want the electromagnetic field around your cows.
Right.
But then there's a road and they have an easement and all kinds of things, and they're cutting your farm property in half. And so let's talk about that.
Yeah. So it's, there's, it's really kind of a fear of the unknown. So when we went before the County Planning Commission, in my testimony, I did ask for a lot of conditions of approval if they did, send it through the farmland. And the County Planning Commission was generous enough to basically take all those requests and make them conditions of approval. So, we're talking about pretty heavy vehicles causing compaction, right, and timing of how the construction happens. There's, when the day comes that you need to make silage, you need to make silage. I mean, that's why we did that on the 4th of July, right, not because we thought it would be fun,
Right, yeah.
Like that was the day it needed to happen. If you've got wires strung all over and construction equipment and, all those things going on, that makes that pretty hard. You're talking about, soil compaction could take decades to undo. Replanting the grass and all those things. We use wireless collars for our cows to monitor their health. We don't really have any idea what that's going to do to that.
Which, by the way, I think, don't they have one of those at the creamery?
They do.
Yeah, a little display.
Yeah.
And I believe your face is up there, is it not?
It's
somewhere.
It's larger than I thought it was going to be.
You're a giant.
The more we look into it, the more we find. I mean, things like carrying an irrigation pipe that's
oh, sure,
that's parallel with the power lines is a big no-no. You can get that stray voltage, and it can. And
didn't you tell me last time you were here that when you were a kid or you were in high school or something, you were working and you saw like that stray voltage happen or something like that? Well, or you knew somebody that did?
Yeah, we actually have an elk fence that wasn't powered up that I was just making some repairs on, and when I grabbed the wire, it shocked me. But I've learned a lot more since then, obviously. Yeah. But anytime a fence runs in parallel with the wires for more than, I think it's 150 feet, there's a good chance that it will electrify.
Wow.
So.
Or anything metal, it sounds like, because if you have a culvert pipe, right? Same thing.
Yeah, those irrigation pipe are 30-some feet long, and so it's a lot of those unknowns. Cows are sensitive, even more so than humans, but I've got an employee that lives down there by where they're going to go through. There's just a lot of concerns that way. So, even with all of those protections that are put in place by the county, it's still a scary thing. And it's something that I don't have to deal with right now. And it's not something they've offered really any kind of real financial compensation for dealing with that in the future. Right. Everything from safety training for employees to, grounding equipment that's out in the field. Sure. It's a long list.
Right. Well, and cutting your property in half.
Right. Yeah.
Well, now then you have to make, gates and new fences and have the cows going through and over the road or whatever else it is.
Yeah.
That entails. Yeah.
No, a lot of disruptions that way.
So if there's someone listening that is feeling passionate about this, how can they get involved? How can they help you? How can they attend the appeal? Is that open to the public?
Yeah, so the appeal hearing is going to be at the Commissioner's Conference Room at 11 o'clock on Wednesday.
This coming Wednesday?
Yes.
The 11th?
Yeah. And so we would encourage you to come and and hear all the testimony there. And if you'd like to get involved more than that, you're welcome to call me at 503-812-0932, or email me at robodairy@gmail.com. The other reality is that, I have no idea what PUD's legal fees and consultant fees are at right now, but our little group's rapidly gone up to about $20,000, and we would take any support that anyone's willing to give in terms of that. Neighbors and everybody have contributed, and that's been helpful, but I think we're a long ways from being done. And the reality is that we're trying to save everybody money at this point.
Right.
So
right.
Any support would be appreciated.
What time was that meeting again on Wednesday?
11 o'clock.
11 o'clock.
Wednesday.
11 o'clock on the 11th.
Yes.
11 o'clock on the 11th. The commissioner's boardroom, you said?
Yes.
Okay. Well, if you are interested or you would like to go show your support, show up there. Hey, thanks for coming in this morning, giving us an update.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Monday, the OSU Extension office will be here. Don't forget senior meals, 11:30 at St. Mary's by the Sea in Rockaway Beach, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Also noon every weekday at the Kiowanda Community Center in Pacific City, as well as the Tillamook Senior Center at 4th and Stillwell. Cost is $3 for seniors and $6.75 for everyone else. Tomorrow is the annual Clover's Day Festival and Parade in Cloverdale. Festivities kick off with a pancake breakfast at Nestucca High School, with a parade after and all kinds of fun after the parade downtown. And don't forget about our farmers market, Manzanita tonight from 5 to 8, Tillamook tomorrow from 9 to 2, Nuscoins is also tomorrow from 9 to 1, Garibaldi's is Sunday from 10 to 2 at the south end of the port, and Pacific City's is Sunday from 10 to 2 at the South County Library. And right now I'm giving away 2 tickets to the Air Museum. First caller at 842-4422 receives that pair of tickets. Kurt, thanks again for coming in this morning.
Yep. Have a good weekend.
Yep, you too. And thank you, Tillamook, for listening.